Okay, good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, May 26th meeting of the Wakefield School Committee. This is a virtual meeting which is being recorded and broadcast live on the Facebook feed of WCAT. Do we have a flag for our Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
Okay.
One moment.
There we go. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our mission statement is the vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident lifelong learners, who are respectful members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing rich and challenging curriculum, high quality instruction, and educational experiences to meet their individual needs and interests. I'm going to move into our public comment section. I have received very many emails today. I last count, it was like 61, 62. Far too many for me to read all of them or specify particular names. I would just summarize that there's a lot of anxiety out there over the graduation of the class of 2020 and how that ceremony may look. The majority of the emails that I received were requesting that we find a way to have all the students together in one place. And even if that meant waiting till after July, where there's an anticipation of an easement of some of the regulations on public gatherings. And I know that there was a working group has explored very many options, and we'll hear from the superintendent about that later this evening. And he'll talk about what this group had decided upon as late as this morning and in their work with the Board of Health and other agencies. But yeah, I don't want people to feel as though they're not being heard. I have read the emails. There's an awful lot going on, and this is certainly a big milestone in all of the lives of these families, and it's not fair how the coronavirus has impacted everybody. But I think you also need to realize that everybody that's trying to work with this is working through uncharted territory and really doing the very best that they can to follow the law and give the students the best experience, but safe experience that they can offer. Our Student Advisory Council, Lily and Adriana.
Oh, Chris.
Yes.
I'm sorry to cut off Lily and Adriana. They're like the stars of the show. I think, so can I just share a little of the public comment that I received as well?
Sure.
And so I too received, I did not receive 60 email. I received 3, but I received a note from Christine Collins, Carrie Miller, and Scott and Lisa Sawirda. And so in all 3 emails, if I could summarize like you did in yours, Chris, all 3 emails are really asking for just clarification around opportunities for all kids to be together. And is there any way for us to do that? And I think that I will talk a little bit about that in my update in regard to where we are with graduation planning and what I think our next steps are. And but that's what I have to report right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Ladies.
Hi. Today, Adriana and I are also going to talk about kind of our perspective and our feelings on what we know about graduation. So I have something written and I'm going to read it. First and foremost, thank you all for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. Up until this point, I feel like the process surrounding the planning of a graduation ceremony has been positive. I truly am sad that we are at this point, but what makes me the most sad is that I, as well as my other classmates, feel as if our voices have not been heard. In essence, we have been let down by our administration. Countless times we are reassured that our administration put out a plan for us all to be celebrated together, and that is not the case. Being able to graduate with my best friends since elementary school has always been a dream, and that has been taken away from me. What is the hardest for me to understand is how neighboring towns are able to plan just the kind of events that we as a community have been hoping for. I understand that we are in unprecedented times and that those plans may not happen, but my sincere hope was that our school leaders would put forth the same creative energy in giving our class what we deserve. Sadly, we chose the path of least resistance. As this is likely my last time speaking at a school committee meeting, I want to thank you all for letting me use this platform to broadcast the feelings and happenings of Wakefield High School. It has been an honor to represent my fellow students. I hope my words have resonated with you, but most of all, I hope that it is not too late to celebrate the class of 2020 the right way with a celebration altogether. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to be doing the same thing as Lily did, so I'll just be reading from papers. But thank you again for taking the time to go through the senior class activities. I would like to reiterate the same ideas that Lily has already told you about. Coming from a student's perspective, today we were very eager to hear the news from this morning's meeting as to what the decision regarding graduation would be. Nothing has been officially said, but word spread about graduation being in the form of small groups graduating at one time, meaning we'll be graduating with just our homeroom. These mini graduations are anticipated to be in June. Since we are not able to graduate on our planned date, why is there a need to rush and have it later in June? Leaving Wakefield Memorial High School on Thursday, March 12th, I would never thought that our senior year was going to end like this. That Thursday was the last time our class was going to be completely together without even being aware of it. Between talking with friends and classmates, I definitely get a strong preference that we want to be together for graduation, one last time with the entire class. The governor announced late last week that as of July 19th, in-person graduation ceremonies can be held as long as we follow social distancing guidelines. My classmates and I would really like the opportunity to have our graduation after this date to allow us to be together. A graduation is something that any high schooler looks forward to, and especially with our class in particular. We each picture ourselves sharing this experience and throwing our caps in the air. Without having these special moments like this, it is truly heartbreaking. I really hope that you will support the class of 2020 and our wishes. We have lost so much these last few months that was out of our control. There is an opportunity for us to have a safe graduation all together if we just wait a few more weeks. And I just wanted to thank you again for allowing Lily and I to be school representatives. It was truly an amazing experience. Technically, Lily and I will not be graduating next week, so we would be happy to share more news happening about the school in upcoming school committee meetings.
Thank you, girls. It certainly has been a pleasure to have your input. Especially since all of this started, it's helped us try to keep a bit of a bigger pulse on a group of people that we don't see every day anymore, and we want to see what's going on with all of you. So I appreciate all your candor and your input and your smiling faces. Anybody else have any questions for the girls? Just as a reminder, we have a public hearing at 7:45, so we have 5 minutes to ask questions. Doug?
So Lily, first, I think I heard Adriana volunteer you for our next school committee meeting. I could be off, but just an FYI, just to clarify there. And so if that's the case, then I would love to have you back. That would be terrific. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about graduation and my updates. I feel like I hope that you can hear kind of some of the explanation around, why June, why sooner and not later, and why small group as opposed to large group. And so I would love to talk with you both more offline about this. And I really, really appreciate your comments. It's a pleasure to listen to you both. So that's it for me.
Anybody else? Tom?
Thank you. We're going to be talking about this topic, later on in the agenda. So I don't want to react too much now. But while we are talking with Adriana and Lily, terrific representatives in a really difficult time. I mean, this isn't a time and place that is comfortable for anyone, and it's really, really bad for the class of 2020. I just wanted to again congratulate you and thank you for being strong and being vocal and being always polite and professional. And you make Wakefield proud. Thanks, girls. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Colleen? I mean, Amy.
Oh, thanks. No, just quickly, I just want to thank you girls for participating in our meetings every week. And I think that you really represented your class in a great way, and you should be really proud of yourselves. And I know you two will go on to do amazing things at Holy Cross and UNH. And maybe this isn't going to be the last time we see you, but again, I just want to wish you the best of luck. And honestly, if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. We're all here for you guys. And thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. It is 7:43, so what I would like to do is explain a little bit about the school choice hearing. We need to begin in about another minute or so. That will require a roll call vote to go into the public hearing, where we'll discuss whether or not Wakefield is going to participate in school choice for next year. Then we will look for a motion one way or the other, depending how the conversation goes. And then we'll close the public hearing and resume our normal agenda. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Let's begin with just a motion for to go into public hearing.
Move that the school committee open the school choice public hearing.
Need a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay. So it's a roll call, Judy?
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
So now we are in a public hearing to discuss school choice. Mr. Lyons, you have any comments for us?
So I think in regard to school choice, one of the questions that often arises is, you know, the benefit and do we have kind of room to accommodate additional students into our schools, and in looking at our class sizes, it looks like in pre-K 4 that we're kind of busting at the seams. We're looking at the possibility of adding at least one kindergarten class next year, possibly two. And so I don't think at pre-K 4, and also looking at middle and high school, we look to be pretty full as well. And so that's a question that I often get in regard to class sizes. And so the other part of this is that I think to accept and open up kind of choice has other kind of layers to it as well, and needs to accommodate a range of needs as well. So I think in the past it's been, you know, the school committee vote that has kind of guided this process, but that's just some data points or a few points that I think is important to consider in regard to kind of looking at school choice.
Any further discussion with any members of the committee? Susie?
Doug, can you just clarify for the public that might be watching what our current stance is on this?
Yeah. So in every year, the school committee is required to have a public hearing and a meeting to make the public determination if we are opening up our district for what we call school choice. And so districts that open up their schools for school choice say that they will open up their schools to accept schools from out of district, from surrounding districts, to come into Wakefield. And students come for a myriad of reasons, right? One, to get a fresh start. One, because, or another reason is that they feel like maybe our high school programming might be more competitive or maybe able to better support their needs academically, socially, emotionally, and behaviorally. And so there are a number of different reasons why students kind of seek a choice route or an alternative route. And so there's also kind of this advantage for the district in regard to it's a tuition ad. But I think that in kind of one of the drivers is, do we have the space and do we have the resources available to take on a number of additional students that aren't part of one of the programs that we currently accommodate. And so when I say programs that we currently accommodate, so we have students that attend from Boston, and we have students that tuition into our post-academy program. And so, but those are kind of the primary reasons why students seek choice to come from other districts. Our stance in the past has been, and so members of the committee that have been here longer can report a longer historical view, but this is my 5th year in Wakefield, and all 5 years that I've been here, the district has felt like it's not in the best interest, or that we do not have the resources to kind of accommodate a choice program. So we've decided against choice as a committee. Correct me if I'm off, Tom or Chris, with any of my comments.
Finishing 15 years on the committee, and never once have we voted for school choice. It's always been determined that we really didn't have enough space or the resources to pull that off. I think, especially now, it would be ill-advised to go ahead and do that. Vote in favor of such a move. I think that our income is far too precarious, and that we don't need to be taking on additional students at this time, or even losing students as well. So it can go both ways. Okay. Any other comment, or can we have a motion?
Motion?
Yes, please.
Okay. Move that the school committee choose not to participate in school choice.
Second.
It's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier. Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Vayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay, so motions have been passed unanimously that we will not participate in school choice for next year. I need a motion to come out of public session, our public hearing.
So moved.
Move a second.
Second.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded to come out of public hearing. Rudy?
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Vayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Amy, you're muted. You're muted. Ian, can you unmute her? There we go.
Yes. I apologize. I lost my connection.
Okay,
Mr. Callahan,
yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
So we are back into our regular agenda at this time. Move on to the consent agenda.
Okay, I'm going to break this up into two. Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the May 12th, 2020 school committee meeting and accept the minutes of the May 7th, 2020 school committee finance and facilities subcommittee meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion, comment? Okay. We're looking for a roll call,
Yep.
please.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimously.
And the second is move that the school committee accept the minutes of the May 14th Finance and Facilities Subcommittee meeting with the addition of the following line in the discussion section of the minutes. To read, school committee member Purcell discussed issues and made comments about approaching the budget process in a more creative way that is mindful of student and teacher contact time.
Okay, so there's a correction on the, he seconded. Okay, any discussion or questions? Okay. And so we'll vote on the corrected minutes. Judy?
Yep. Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay. Passes unanimously. And we can move on to the chair's comments and the election of officers. I certainly want to thank all of you for having me as your chair for the past year and a couple of weeks. It's been an interesting road, not to say the least. I look forward to 3 more years on the committee after the election is done, but it will be nice to have a little quieter role for a little while. I'm sure we'll all be in great hands and moving on, but I certainly want to thank all of you for your faith in me, and I hope I did a good job for you. I'd like to move on and have looking for a motion to elect our new chair.
Chris, before we do that, are we going to move forward with the public comment with the Boy Scouts after this?
Yes.
Okay.
I had just told the Boy Scouts to count on 8 o'clock, so I didn't know if any more were going to sign on, so I didn't want to go on early on that after I told them 8 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
So do we have a motion for a new chair? Who, Tom?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to nominate Amy Purcell as chair for the school committee for 2021 school year.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Purcell, do you accept your nomination?
Yes, I do accept, and thank you very much, Tom, for the nomination.
And so any discussion or comment? I'm not seeing them. We'll move directly into a vote.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay. The chair is yours, Ms. Purcell.
Thank you. Okay, moving on with the agenda is we need a motion to nominate the vice chair.
I nominate Susie Vayer to be the vice chair of the Wakefield School Committee.
Second.
Susie, do you accept the nomination?
I do. Thank you.
Discussion? Seeing none, I guess we'd have a roll call vote, Judy.
Okay, Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay, these votes were unanimous. And moving now forward with the, I need a nomination to elect the payroll signer.
Okay. I would like to nominate Susie Vare to continue as payroll signer.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been seconded. Do you accept that, Susie?
I do.
Discussion? Looks like there isn't, so we'll do a roll call.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay, that has been voted as well, unanimous. And we are moving forward with the agenda. Underneath the chair comments is letter C for subcommittee interest. This is just something that we wanted to, that I wanted to share with you in regards to anybody who was thinking about maybe having an interest on being on one of the subcommittees for finance and facilities, labor and personnel, student services, or policy and communications, to email me, let me know what your thoughts are. And we're going to have to wait a little while longer until our new member of the school committee gets on. And I anticipate this happening sometime around September. So please just keep me posted on what your thoughts are in terms of where you think you might want to be in a subcommittee. Next on the agenda is the school committee secretary update. Oh, sorry, Colleen.
All right, that's okay, Amy. I just had kind of a quick question regarding the subcommittee reorganization. Given that we're in the situation we're in, and especially with the finance and facilities subcommittee, I'm just wondering if it makes sense, and even also with labor, we're still sort of discussing open agenda items or things that have resurfaced. Does it make sense to sort of get through this time period where we're in, because the players are there discussing what they're discussing now, and maybe postpone it until we feel a little bit more stable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. And again, I think that's why maybe if we wait until September, we'll have a little bit more clarity maybe as to where we're at.
Yeah.
Again, we can, discuss that at a later date as a full committee, and just to kind of see where we're at in terms of decisions that need to be made. So I have no problem with that as well.
Okay, super, great. Thank you, Amy.
Yep. Anybody else? Tom?
To wrangle Chris back into it, or for anyone to help me with my memory. Did we not a couple months ago appoint a position of warrant assigner with the expectation that that position will be coterminous with the rest of the officers and be elected or elected at this time? Isn't there another position in our mix?
You know what? You were kind of broken up, so I didn't get the full gist of what you were saying, but I do think, Chris, did you catch that?
I'll try to fix up. Anyways, if my memory serves, a couple months ago, we appointed a position of warrant assigner.
Mhm.
And my memory is that position was going to be coterminous with the annual reorganization of officers. Does anyone else have that memory? And should that position be considered tonight?
You're right, Tom. I remember that.
So Tom, are you asking that like, it was my recollection that we had, since it was just done, that we didn't need to do it again. So if there's a mistake made, it's certainly on my part, but if you feel that way, I'm sure Amy wouldn't mind you making a new motion.
Well, no, I certainly am not saying it was a mistake, Chris. So please don't take it that way. I just wanted to make sure that my memory was that we added this position of warrant signer to the mix of the four, now creating a fourth position to be reelected or reorganized at this time. And I was just thinking that we should probably, do that tonight or do it at the next meeting since it's actually not on tonight's agenda. I was more interested in seeing if anyone else had that memory.
I
And
don't,
should we-
I don't really
should we
recall. If
re-elect?
I wasn't sure if we did it as a recurring thing or if we just were going to do it if it was until decided otherwise type of thing. But I'm fine either way.
Tom Flynn, did you have a comment?
Yes, I recollect it the same way Tom did, that we had said that we would have that position until the new elections of offices, and then we would repost it then.
Okay, we can do a motion if you would like, Tom, tonight, and we can just get that over with because Chris was going to be that warrant signer. He said he would do it.
So that's fine. My memory at this point is, Chris, did we elect Chris as warrant signer?
Yes.
Happily. So without having, I happily nominate Chris Callahan to be warrant signer for the 2021 school year.
Second.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Vare,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay, so that vote has unanimously passed, and Chris is now the warrant signer. Moving on, does anybody have any other issues or discussion? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on with the update on the school committee secretary. This is something that was put on the agenda before I became chair. But from what I understand, we have received some resumes and we do plan to conduct some interviews in the upcoming weeks, and we will keep you posted on how that has gone. But as of now, that's the only thing I have in terms of updating on the school committee secretary. And that's it for chair's comments. So I guess I'll just send it over to Doug for superintendent remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome.
Sounds like I like that. Yeah. And so thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of share just some information with the committee. Just in regard to updates, I'd just like to start off with just sharing a little bit about a document was shared with you this evening around senior events, what's happening for Senior Week starting Monday of next week. And so there's kind of events every day, Monday through Friday. There's graduation portraits happening, senior awards. And then there's a kind of an update on graduation in that document that was shared. There's a link to that. And also there's information on there in regard to senior prom. And so just an update on graduation. First, just in speaking to the graduates that we have here on our committee. And so, I hope, girls, that you can hear my words when I say, there's nothing more difficult than making a decision that disappoints, right? And so when you say, our administrators have let us down, we hear those words. I hear those words. And so I am your administrator, right? And so that's a big deal for us. I think that we need to continue to talk about graduation and kind of why we are proposing the plan that we are, and to also talk about where we might be able to be flexible, okay? And so just in regard to the plan that was discussed this morning, which will be sent out tomorrow, this morning, the working group comprised of parents, students, teachers, and administrators, including myself and members of this committee. And so what was shared this morning by Principal McLeod and myself is kind of a 3-part plan for graduation. And so we are proposing that this is an event that takes place in June. And we have gotten many email, and Chris shared tonight, he got 60 email, and I think that was based on just some feedback or based on prompting that kind of went out from the community or this afternoon after our planning meeting. So let me be clear about why we are looking at June. We are looking at June because it gives us the opportunity to include the largest number of graduates to graduate all at one time, right? And so I am the superintendent, not for a few students or not for a few families. I'm the superintendent of schools for all families, right? Part of my job is to represent all voices, right? Even if they are just a few voices. And so one of the reasons why we have selected June as a time to have graduation is for a few reasons. And so one is that in our survey information, we've gotten a lot of feedback around just how important doing something and bringing closure to the year is. The other piece, which I think is really the most important, is us planning an event that just by virtue of how we're planning it could exclude students, right? So a number of parents have reached out to us and they have shared that their child, for medical reasons or for family reasons, would be unable to participate at a later date after June. We have students going in the military. We have families that are moving out of Wakefield. We have students whose parents have said they can't participate in a large group, and they're also seeking to do something sooner than later. And so in just trying to represent the need for those students to get their diplomas in a timely manner and have them be part of the ceremony is something that we think is important, right? And so, but this also relates to kind of size of the group. So the two things, so first let me talk about the plan and then I'll talk more about kind of the size of the group. So the plan that the administration, of which I am part of, is putting forward is a 3-part plan. There would be kind of speeches that would be filmed ahead of time. And we would do a small group face-to-face evaluation on Beasley, where students would come onto the turf with parents. So parents would be present, which is a data point and feedback that we've gotten from parents and from kids that said we want our parents to be present. But they also would be with kind of a group of kids. It wouldn't be the entire group. It would be with a small group that we feel that we could manage at a social distance and keep students safe. And so that's kind of the middle part of the plan. And so we would bring parents and students in groups, and we would graduate them over June 13th and 14th. And then the third part of the plan that Amy McLeod shared earlier, and that I should say we shared, was that during the prom time or around the first week in August, we would also do a larger celebration for the entire class. And so that's what we were planning. And so in listening to the students and parents that were on the planning committee, there were questions about how many students could fit onto the turf, or what constitutes, quote, small group. And this is something that is not defined in the guidance that we've gotten from the DPH, the Board of Health, and from the Department of Education. We have gotten guidance that, limiting the number of students before July 19th is still in play, and that's the guidance that we're getting from DPH. So small group, if we're going to do something in June, it has to be a small group. And so to do something after June would naturally exclude kids, right, who have said that they need their diploma and they want to graduate with their class because they might be moving, going in the military, or for other family reasons. And so being the superintendent for all students and all families, I think if we don't have a graduation in June and we move it to July, it's going to naturally exclude students. And for us, we feel like that is a conflict that we think is important for us to address and important for us to try to be mindful of. And so this isn't just a situation where, students could just make a choice. Well, if they don't want to attend, or they could just pull up in front of the high school and we could just give them their diploma. We've gotten feedback like that. And I think that we hear all of those suggestions, and I think we're just trying to meet the expectation of as many groups as possible. Okay. And so that's a very quick in regard to the question about why June. In regard to group size on the turf, so we've looked at this and talked about this a dozen different ways. I've spoken to other superintendents. I've spoken to the Commissioner of Education. I've spoken to Ruth Clay at length, our representative from the Board of Health. And so, I've talked with Steve Mayo about this, and Steve Mayo's guidance for me is, as long as we have sign off from the Board of Health and it's safe, then we can endorse it and make it work. And so, and just kind of talking about small group versus large group, there's a couple of parts to kind of managing the large group versus small group. So first, if we're planning an event that naturally excludes students, as I mentioned earlier, in regard to the June planning, if there are students that have any medical conditions that would preclude them from participating, and we're planning the event knowing that this is a problem for them, that's a significant issue, right? And so that's where size comes in as well in regard to keeping students safe. And so we've gotten many, many suggestions and many questions that have asked about, why is Melrose planning a face-to-face graduation? Because Melrose feels that they can kind of pull this off safely and address the needs of their community. And the needs in regard to addressing the needs of our community and doing it in a thoughtful, inclusive way, right? The three parts that we've used to kind of guide our planning are safety first, health and safety, inclusion, including as many students as possible, and creating accessible venues, creating accessible opportunities for kids. And so we just think that the plan that we are presenting kind of strikes or checks as many of those needs as possible. And so we hear the stress and the frustration on the part of students, as I look at Lily and I look at Adriana, and as I looked at their classmates earlier today, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to think that we are disappointing and not allowing the group to be together as a class. But I don't know if it's us allowing the class to be together as much as it's us really just trying to create safe ways to not exclude people for health reasons or for reasons that they may be going in the military, or they might be traveling, or they might be moving. So those other things are real. And so, and trying to be an administrator and a leader for all of the constituents in the district, those things really weigh heavily with us. And for that reason, that is why we put forth the plan that we put forward today. And so there was a question that has been asked by virtually every single person that has reached out to Chris Callanan in regard to the public comment section tonight, in regard to the feedback that we got from Lily and Adriana, in regard to the class officers that are part of the planning group. Their question is there any way that we as a class can participate in June and be 260 strong? There are 260 graduates on the turf. correct me if I'm off, Lily or Adriana, with that ask. That's what the ask is, correct? Yeah. And so, Lily, do you feel like that represents what students are asking for?
Yeah, I think that is probably something that a lot of people are wondering, but I think you hit on, I wasn't aware that August is still being, or July or August are still being considered as an addition to the June celebration. So I think that makes me feel a little bit better. So I'm glad you addressed that. And I know that is on top of the concern of 260 strong on June. A later celebration date is definitely something that I feel like across the board is being asked. And you hit on that. So I think that people will understand it a little more now.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's part 3 of the plan that we're going to present tomorrow or share with the public. And so, you know, no plan that we create is going to be perfect. There is no perfect anymore, right? And so there's no, you know, how we used to do things is not an option for us. So we're trying to adapt, and we're trying to meet the needs of all constituents here. And so please hear my words when I say that. And so I'm going to move forward and see if we can have 260 strong on the turf students. And so that was a question that came up today. So I'm going to address that with the Board of Health tomorrow, and I'm going to report back. And I will do that because we won't be meeting face to face. I'm going to do that via email to the community. So we're going to meet tomorrow. We're going to meet with Board of Health tomorrow. So I'll probably get more information out on Thursday morning. So Wednesday morning will be the plan that we have devised initially, which is 3 parts. Then I will put kind of a response from Board of Health in regard to the opportunity to be 260 strong. And so just, you know, and just thinking about being on the turf and what was asked. So to be 260, just students on the turf, that would limit access to other kind of groups. And so one of the suggestions was, you know, could we have parents come in and out in waves? And I don't know if we can do that, but if we can, and if we can do it in a safe way, you know, one of the suggestions in regard to the plan, so the plan is sequenced for groups to come in and out over a 2-day period. The idea of kind of shuttling parents in and out, the dilemma with that is that students would be sitting on the turf for 7 or 8 hours to get groups of parents in or out. And I just think about that just being kind of a deal breaker for kids, you know, and that yes, they want to participate. Yes, they want to support one another, but I just don't know if they understand that one of the plans or one of the suggestions was to kind of have parents come in and out in groups. And so we need to talk more about this, but what I want to let the group know is that I will bring the suggestion to the Board of Health tomorrow to see if we can create an event in June to meet the needs of all of the groups so that people are not excluded, which I think is a priority, not only for me, but I think for all of our school leaders. And then we will kind of take their guidance. And if we can create something to kind of fit more students on the turf or to get all students on the turf, we will do it. And so that's what I have to report right now in regard to graduation. And so I'm taking a little bit longer than I had initially planned, but I think it's important for me to try to touch on all of the things that came up today in our planning group.
Thank you, Doug. I'm sure that my fellow school committee members do have some thoughts about this, but I'm wondering if maybe we'd be able to put that aside so that I can let the Boy Scouts speak, because I know they've been waiting patiently. So Tom, would you like to introduce the boys and continue?
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So tonight, we have with us 12 members of Troop 701, Wakefield, Boy Scout Troop 701. Each of these young scouts is participating in a merit badge program called Citizenship in the Community. And one of the many requirements, I think there's 12 requirements, one of the many requirements is to attend in a meeting of a body in your town. So the boys, and we actually have one girl, a scout with us. As beside the community mail that girls were invited into the Boy Scouting program about a year and a half ago, and we pleased 701. I believe we young women who are members of Troop 701. We have one of them is with us in this group tonight. Anyways, that aside, so I'm thrilled in coordinating with Mr. Callahan and Mr. Lyons to be able to allow the scouts to join us tonight. It's an important discussion. Not a meeting wouldn't be, but it's a good one. They need to then take notes on the discussion and sort of paraphrase the types of important matters that the school committee discussed, and be able to speak with some with some agility about that. But what I would like, if we could, Madam Chair, I'd like each of the scouts to introduce themselves, to say their grade, and to talk about, just very, very briefly, say something about citizenship and why it's important, and especially why it might be important in this time, as we welcome scouts, and we welcome all youth, obviously, to participate in the things that we do here at the school committee. So with that in mind, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to ask just to help prompt the scouts, so they're not wondering who's going to go next. I'll just probably prompt them as I see them on the screen, if that's okay with you. So so Ty, can you go first?
Yeah, sure. My name is Tyler Nelson. I am in 8th grade.
And Christopher.
Hello, my name is Christopher Meadows, and I'm also in 8th grade.
Hudson.
My name is Hudson Little, and I'm in 7th grade.
Davius.
I'm Davius Chan, and I'm in 8th grade.
Alejandro.
I am Alejandro Borda, and I am in 8th grade.
Ricky.
Hi, I'm Ricky Nelson. I'm a junior.
David.
Hello, my name is David Narden. I'm in 8th grade.
George.
Hi, I'm George Palmer, and I'm in 7th grade.
Ferris.
I'm
Oh, I think you froze up there, Ferris.
my name is 10th grade.
And Michael Flynn. Michael.
I'm Michael Flynn, and I'm in 8th grade.
Christine.
I'm Christine Inteni, and I'm a freshman.
And Dominic.
Hi, I'm Dominic James, and I'm in 6th grade.
Great. Well, again, this participation is important to their citizenship work and requirement. While I have the floor, and I'm going to ask any scout to also say something if they so choose, but I want to take a minute and thank Mr. Lyons. One of the other requirements that some important matters in town, the scouts had to do some research, online research, checking town and school department websites, reading the Wakefield item, and come up with interview questions. And Mr. Lyons was very gracious to give us over an hour of his time a couple weeks ago to work with these scouts on meeting another requirement, that being interviewing and talking with a local official. So I know the superintendent's a very busy person, not just now, but always, but certainly thank you for that, that work, Doug. Would any of the scouts like to say anything to the school committee or have any questions for the school committee?
Nope.
Anyone? No? Okay. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the school committee, for allowing the indulgence and for letting the scouts introduce themselves. Thanks.
Absolutely. I just, if any of our school committee members have any questions for the scouts, let me know. Seeing that we don't, I just want to thank you all for attending our meeting. I hope you learned a little bit about the process, and good luck with, is it the merit badges that they need, Tom?
Yes. Yep. There are actually 3 citizenship level badges: citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, and citizenship in the world. Citizenship, healthy living and physical fitness and personal management. Many of those things are characteristics that are inherent in the scouting program, and these scouts are on their way, taking citizenship in the community pretty seriously.
Well, that's wonderful, and thank you all again so much for joining our meeting this evening. Okay, moving on with the agenda. Does anybody have any questions for Doug in regards to the information that he provided about graduation? Tom Flynn.
Doug, just a quick question. I know that you had concerns. There are people, as you said, people going into the military, going off to business, going into school, colleges and stuff. That's why we want to do the smaller groups in June. Is it possible to do both? Is it possible to do the smaller groups in June and then have a larger group, which would be smaller than the 260 if we have some of the ones in June already done? Would it be possible to then to do a bigger one on July 19th with everybody else?
So the plan that we're putting forward is it has 2 parts. It would be a June graduation in small groups, and it would be a larger group celebration in August. And so, so that's kind of part 2 and part 3 of the plan, Tom. And so, but what it would do is it would give people their diplomas, and it would give kind of the largest number of students the opportunity to participate and not be excluded. Right. And so, and so to do something, if we had, for example, a student that couldn't participate in a large group for medical reasons, or if we had students going to the military, if we just did a modified program, that would naturally exclude them. So this would allow them to participate in June, and then August would be a choice. Right. And so, and then but that way it would kind of give us the best opportunity to meet all of what we're hearing for feedback around the things that are most important.
Okay.
Yeah. Lily. Oh, sorry, Aim, go ahead.
Nope. Yep. Go ahead, Lily. Thank you.
So I have 2 questions. The first one is, was it ever explored that parents not attend the graduation ceremony in June? Because I feel like I know some parents who would be willing to sacrifice their attendance in order for the whole class to be together. So I was just wondering if that was discussed as an option.
It was, Lily, and we got feedback from students and kids that said having loved ones there was something that was really important to them. And as a parent, if you were my daughter, it would be a hard time keeping me away, right? To be honest, right? And so as a parent, I hear what you're saying in regard to a student perspective, so the short answer is yes, we have considered that, but in just the feedback that we've gotten, keeping parents away or doing something just for students was something that the feedback that we got was that was kind of a deal breaker. Like that was one of the most important things that I think both parents and students agreed with.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question was, what would the celebration in August look like? Would there be any components to a real graduation in that celebration, or would it just be the whole class getting together for something?
We don't have that all worked out. One of the things that we were talking about is an opportunity for the entire class to get together and view their graduation as a video. So what does it look like? So when we put together the parts, right? And so we put together the graduation speeches, kids walking and their names being called. And so one of the things that we had talked about initially is just, and part of that ceremony in August would be to kind of, as a group, to just watch the graduation ceremony. So that's one of the things we talked about, but we haven't gotten too far into the planning for the August celebration yet. I think, that's something that we need to work more with students on. And parents.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Doug? Yep, Tom?
So I guess let me first start by making just a big thank you to Doug, to Amy McLeod and the high school team, and all members of the working group. That there is no way that anyone's going to come out of this unscathed. There's no way that anyone's going to come out of this and have an event that is going to please everyone. And with that in mind, the high school team and the working group are still sort of putting their ideas together and coming up with their very best that they can to meet some of the important goals, as well as to meet some of the legitimate needs, some of which are not conveyed by sort of a majority vote. So I wanted just to say thank you to those that are working on this. It's not an easy time. One of the things that Ruth Clay, our health director, said this morning, which I found particularly, it was stinging, frankly, to hear, but it was appropriate as I pondered it throughout the day. She said, anyone that thinks that they're going to have an event that is similar to a traditional graduation, you need to get that thought out of your head right away. We are in an extraordinary time, and we can't create something that lands us back to a comfort level that probably we as a community will never see again. So that was pretty stinging to hear. Those that were on the morning call will recall that, Ruth said those comments. And it was pretty stinging to hear. But as I pondered it throughout the day, I'm like, yep, I get that. So having said that, I wanted to talk first to support the administration's proposal with regard to the month of June versus later in the summer. And with the particular reason around the fact that I do not think that we should intentionally or purposefully create an event that knowingly excludes people. The survey data overwhelmingly from the seniors, as well as the survey data from parents, everyone was open to a summer event. And here we are producing a June event. So I think we need to say it out loud, honestly, listening to the administrative team, we need to say out loud that we are presenting something that flies in the face of the survey. Once we say that, it may be refreshing. And I don't say that to be cute. I say that to acknowledge that, that we're doing something that we know right off the bat is not what the opinions of the community were. That being said, we've got some guidance from Department of Education, Office of Civil Rights, expressing concerns if we were to purposefully and intentionally create a public event that knowingly excluded people. That's a big deal to me. It's a big deal as to my core values. It's a big deal to us as elected officials, and I'm sure deep down it's a big deal to every member of the class not wanting to exclude anyone, whether it's one person or 100 people. We really shouldn't do that. That's not the right thing to do. So at least in my view, I feel strongly about why a June event is important with regard to the civil rights of all members of the class of 2020. So that being said, the next piece is with regard to what does a June ceremony look like. I have been and continue to be an advocate for pursuing a path that puts all 260 students on Beasley Field at one time. I'm thrilled to hear the superintendent and the principal say we're going to pursue that path, at least investigate it some more. We're going to think about ways around the logistics of that. We're going to reach out to the Board of Health and see if we can get some guidance, some further guidance. At the end of the day, of course, we need to be safe. We need to be smart. We need to be compliant with what the state issues as guidance and rules, right? But anything that we can do, in my opinion, to meet the needs of the students by putting all the students have the opportunity to share the day. I fully appreciate, as Mr. Lyon said, if we go down that path, Lily and Adriana, plus I'm sure there are others listening, it's going to be a very, very long day. In order to get, students on and off the field and families, it's going to be a long day. So we need to think about that but one thing I think is really appropriate is really of this process, right, is the legitimacy of a group thinking process. And so I just encouraged to hear that the administration is taking a second look at other options, that the proposal is going to come out from the high school principal tomorrow. We will see that. I'm sure in her proposal, it's going to encourage people to provide feedback and the community to continue to provide feedback. That's how processes work in a legitimate, public conversation. But so, regardless of what the June event looks like, it needs to be safe, it needs to be comfortable, it needs to be something that those in charge, in particular the health officials, the high school principal, the superintendent, can stand behind and tell us we're safe. I want to see that, obviously. I want to see it in a legitimate way, but I believe in my heart that Wakefield and the class of 2020 will rise to the occasion, will be compliant with social distancing, will be compliant with masks, will be compliant with, won't take it for granted, won't take it as a ridiculous notion, that if we go down this path, there are going to be expectations that everyone's going to have to support and comply with the rules that public health officials and the governor and the Department of Education are providing us. So it's a real difficult time. And I again, just want to thank the administration for staying at it. I agree with Mr. Lyons. I appreciate, Lily, everything that you've said, everything that you've ever said to us as a committee. I'm sorry to hear that you think the administration is letting you down. I know in their heart of hearts that's not their intention, that's not their desire. But this is being forced upon all of us. No one is seeking not to do the best for the class of 2020. I'm just hopeful that we may be able to find a way, working together and working things out, that can land in a place that can at least suit most of the needs and expectations. But safety has to prevail. So again, I wanted to thank Doug for the update and thank the administration and the working group, and of course the students. The students' input has been invaluable on these working group meetings, as well as Lily and Adriana's comments to us as a school committee. So anyways, I just wanted to wrap that up and hopefully in the next week or less, we'll get some more feedback from the community. We'll get some more feedback from officials about where we absolutely need to land, and we'll do the best we can.
Thank you, Tom. Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Doug? Seeing none. I just have one, Doug. I know that, you outlined that plan tonight. And again, it sounds like a solid plan that clearly has been thought long and hard. But I'm just wondering, given tonight we've received, say 60 or 65 new emails.
Yep.
And, is there a plan to, maybe further or refine the plan based on those emails that we received like an hour ago?
Yes, I think the plan, Amy, is to, and the other committee members, is to kind of bring forward the question about, what is small group and can we get 260 students on the turf? That's something that I think we need to address with the Board of Health because they need to sign off that this can work, right? And so that's a piece, right? So that the next steps would be for us to kind of bring the plan as it was created with the amended part, or to get the question answered. Can 260 kids be on the turf? I think one of the things that we need to kind of really think through is how students would participate, or excuse me, how parents would participate. And so, there's been a number of different questions there, but my sense is that, the Board of Health and DPH will have guidance for us on this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Doug in regards to graduation?
Actually, Amy, I'm going to just make a quick comment.
Sure.
Try to make it quick. So I've been one of the representatives on the committee that's been meeting, and it's been close to 5 hours of conversations that started 3-4 weeks ago. I'm not sure exactly when. And Lily and Adriana, I want you, it makes me so sad to hear that you guys don't feel like you're being heard or getting what you deserve, because you do deserve more than this. Every graduate, any 2020 graduate deserves more than what they're getting right now. But I also want to say that a tremendous amount of discussion and vetting and evolution from what was originally going to happen to what that plan looks like today, based on student feedback and parent feedback, we've really, the plan and the team has really evolved it. And as I said on the call this morning, I was actually kind of surprised that we had a plan that had 20 kids, or 16 to 20 kids, homeroom by homeroom, being able to be together, because what I was hearing in many communities, and not all, but many communities, is that kids are driving up in their car and getting out and getting up on the stage and getting their diploma and getting back in their car and driving away. And I understand that Melrose is saying that they want to do something different. And I understand that Linfield is saying that. And I understand that private schools are doing something different. But there are a tremendous number of communities that are getting less than Wakefield. And to me, we want to celebrate you. And when we look at the full package of what we're trying to do for the class, we're trying to check all those boxes. And the celebration in late July or August would hopefully get all of you guys together, even if we can't do it in June. And so I just, having been a part of all of the conversation and watching it evolve and hearing your peers, honestly, on that committee and how disappointed and sad they were this morning, it's hard to hear. But I want you to know we're really working hard at trying to get you what you want and be safe at the same time over a period of time. And I think we need to keep at this. Could we get all of you guys on a field, even if it's just for 15 minutes? We got to try. And I want everybody to understand that this is not, nobody's taking this lightly. And there's been a lot of hours and time and people kind of investing and trying to do this right. But it is not easy, and I'm sorry for that. And I think that there will be people who will be disappointed at the end of this, but it's not for lack of trying to do the right thing.
Thank you, Susie. Anybody, any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Doug, do you want to continue with your remarks and reports? Unmute.
Thank you, Amy. And so the next part of my report is an amended budget proposal that I'd like to make to the committee. And so I put together a few slides, and I'm going to share my screen. And if this affects anyone's connection, we will kind of double check to just make sure everyone's here, right? And we can check in. So let's give this a try. Can people see this?
Yes.
I can see it.
Thank you. And so this is kind of an amended budget proposal based on the work and conversation that has taken place at the finance subcommittee level, okay? And so, you know, slide one is just a title slide saying that this is the FY21 amended school department budget based on conversations that we've had with town leadership as well as the finance committee. You know, I just want to be clear about the objectives that we are kind of putting in print in regard to creating the budget or creating a new amended budget, right? And so the objective of the new amended budget is to kind of meet the new challenges in this pandemic, right? And to create a budget that will allow us to create an opportunity to open schools safely in the fall. We also want the newly amended budget to have integrity and to continue to be connected to the WPS instructional strategy, which I think you've all seen. The other part is that we will, at the end of this, we will be sharing what the new proposed budget is that we are moving forward. And so if anyone has questions, please raise your hand. I can only kind of see a number of you on the side of my screen now as I present the doc. But if anyone has questions, or Amy, if you feel like I need to stop at any point, please stop me, okay?
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And so the FY21 budget will support what WPS needs to create safe teaching and learning environments for all students and staff. It will continue to fund a faculty and staff of 567 adults in 7 bargaining units to serve 3,510 students in grades pre-K through 12th grade, as well as post-academy. It will continue to be connected to the instructional strategy, and it will be fiscally responsive and sustainable while acknowledging the changing demands of COVID-19. And so that's probably something critical that we need to continue to kind of be thinking about and planning about. And so the instructional strategy, you know, you've seen this slide before. It captures our vision and our mission. And so the parts of our strategy, there are 3 parts. Quality teaching. WPS will support, promote, and retain quality teachers by recruiting and developing exemplary teachers. We will provide the best curriculum that we can bring to our students, okay? And that includes adapting remote learning activities and other things that we feel like that will benefit our students, especially after our school closure. And kind of part 3 is really something that's critical that we all kind of keep in the forefront as we think about returning to school in the fall. We know that students have missed or will miss at the end of the school year 61 days. And because students have ended early, we're going to need to start school in a different place and take a number of things into account. So kind of individualizing student learning is something that will be critical for us as we move forward. Special education. And so you've heard me say this before, our students' needs in regard to special education, we are anticipating them increasing, not decreasing. And so after being out of school, there is regression and kind of loss, in terms of students not having services that they would normally have been provided when schools were in session. We need to be accountable for that and to think about the services that we need to provide to get students caught up, and not just in the short term, but the long term. So one of the things that we're talking about at the finance subcommittee is planning for 18 to 36 months. So this is 1 year. So this will be 12 months of a larger 36-month plan. We're thinking about extended year services need to kind of look different in terms of not just summer services this summer, but also semester services to accommodate the needs of all students. That includes intervention and counseling services as well. We need to be attentive to trauma-sensitive practices to meet the needs of students when they return in the fall, as well as additional services that include assessments and programming to support students. We also need to think about professional development and what our faculty needs as they come back to school. And so there's two parts of this that I feel like are really critical, because on scale there's a lot of information and guidance that we do not yet have in regard to how we will be able to return to school in the fall. And so we think of it in terms of knowns and unknowns, right? And so things that are known and things that we need to be thinking about is that safety, equity, and access are critical. Safety and health services, direct instruction, intervention services, remote learning and remote services and counseling are now top priorities in helping us get back on track. Things that we need to be attentive to are the needs to bring students and teachers back to school. What do we need for protective equipment? Are students going to be required to wear masks? Are teachers going to be required to wear masks? If so, what does that look like? How do we do that, right? And so we don't have a number of things worked out, but we're anticipating that, office routines and, shields and protective equipment are going to be needed, just like they're needed now to kind of reopen and phase in kind of the reentry to the kind of to the economy, or restarting the economy at the state level. And so the unknowns that are not captured in terms of dollar values, but we need to be attentive to this, and we need to be mindful of how we can reallocate and reorganize and be flexible with the resources that we have to meet the needs of students. Things like medical support. We do not yet know if we will need additional support or additional nurses to track symptomatic students and staff. We do not yet know how staff is going to be impacted in their ability to return to teaching and learning. We do not yet know about modified schedules and class sizes. So when we look at other countries that have brought their students back, a lot of those countries have come back to school on a modified schedule. For some levels, it's a half-day schedule. And so for us to create something like that, what could that possibly look like? How would that affect schedules? How would it affect lunch? How would it affect transportation, as well as extracurricular activities and sports? And so we're feeling like all of these things are going to be impacted in the fall as we reopen, but they need to be included in our budget kind of planning, because if we need to reallocate or reorganize resources, we need to think about how best to do that. And so my comment at the bottom of this slide, to safely open, the knowns and unknowns need to be accounted for, and resources will need to be adjusted and reallocated as needed. So one of the things that we are working with the WA leaders on, as well as school principals, is this notion that all of our work and all of our job descriptions will continue to be a little different to meet the needs of students, right? I don't think any teachers nor administrators ever envisioned, like our students, right? They never envisioned ending their senior year like this. I don't think teachers or administrators envisioned that we would ever be out of school for this length of time and what this has meant to all of us. But as we come back in the fall, we're thinking that all of our jobs will continue to look different until we can kind of get a better handle on health, safety, and the spread of this virus, right? So we're continuing to think about sustainable budgets and planning long-term. We will continue to collaborate with the town council, town leaders, and FinCom to think about a long-term plan. We need to be kind of committed to creating safe, learning-ready facilities during this pandemic. We need to continue to plan and support a new high school, a new roof at the Greenwood, and an aggressive preventative maintenance plan that's jointly created by Bob Shiroli, our facilities director, and DPW. So to that end, I am recommending to the school committee an amended budget number. So this is the same number or it's a similar slide that I recommended earlier in March this year that the committee voted on. The difference is that this new number, $43,576,659, is less $400,000, which is what FinCom and the town administrator has asked us to cut out of our budget. So this number reflects that cut. And so we are also awaiting FY21, the increases that we're anticipating from Chapter 70, which now seem to be in some question due to shortfalls in the economic state of things at the state level. So that is the number that I am suggesting. I also think that it represents conversations in the work of the finance subcommittee. We have been meeting every single week, every single Thursday morning, and we will probably continue to meet every single Thursday morning until further notice while we're trying to adjust and adapt to this new normal. But that's it for me. We're still trying to inspire the love of learning. Teachers and administrators, we love this work and we're committed to it. And so that is a very quick look at the superintendent's amended recommended budget for FY21. Amy?
Thank you, Doug. Does anyone have any questions for Doug in regards to this update? Chris?
Doug, is there any hint as to when we might know if the federal government's going to help make up the state shortfalls as well, so we won't take a severe cut?
That's a great question, Chris. There are some relief that we anticipate getting. So there's the CARES Act, which is based on the Title I formula, which will add money right now to the budget. And so that's going to add just shy of $100,000. What we are working on is just figuring out how other students in private placements are also entitled to some of that money. When you break down the $90,000 or close to $100,000 by student, I think it works out to about $28 per student. And so it's just really, it's not a lot of money. It really pales in regard to the cuts that we're making and some of the things that we're anticipating. But, I think, please, I don't want to sound like we are not grateful. We're grateful to receive the $100,000. And we are also anticipating some other relief from monies that we might be getting back, might be coming into the town. Steve Mayo reported that $2.4 million is coming into the town, I believe some of which is to reimburse for the work that we've done and just securing schools and cleaning and overtime in those areas. And so we provided some data for them on the front side of that. So I haven't nailed down a number, or I don't know exactly what we'll be getting on the school side, but I would imagine that the town will kind of share some portion of that back with us to try to support teaching and learning.
Well, it's a 60-40 split, right, on the town?
I think, are you being sarcastic? So, all right. So it's a little.
I'm just worried because the state's talking about an $8 billion shortfall. And I wasn't sure how, if there'll be 9C cuts talking about, or if the federal government is going to backfill any of that, or when we might know any of that information. I hate to announce cuts that we didn't need to make because things were being backfilled.
Yeah, right now, the only kind of quote unquote backfilling that I'm hearing is just what I'm sharing right now. And so I think, we will keep the committee abreast of any opportunities that we have to apply for grants or any other money that's coming into the district that will help us in regard to closing out FY20 or in regard to FY21. Christine, am I missing anything here?
I would just chime in that, yes, we are receiving the CARES Act, just shy of $100,000, but also bear in mind that they're telling us to prepare for cuts to our title grants. So even though we are receiving that money, our entitlement grants could be receiving cuts. Those are for our SPED students, our low income students for Title I, and maybe some reimbursements for our food service programs. So I would just, no one really has all the answers yet. So, I just would like to say, yes, it does look like we're getting some federal relief, but we don't know what the state's going to do at this point.
Thank you, Christine. Any other questions for Doug? Tom? Marco?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to support and add a little bit to Doug's report, as well as to speak to Chris's question. As a member of the Finance Subcommittee, Doug noted we've been meeting every Thursday morning for a while now. And one of the things that has been really discussed there, and what came out of that, was the appreciation and even the solid recommendation that we put forward the $400,000 cut, and that we leave the door opened at this point to specifically acknowledge we're not providing specificity around where those cuts would be. And I just wanted to say that out loud again in support of the things that Doug said in his report and within his slides, and even getting to Chris's point around, we don't know lots of information about possibilities of federal aid or even what the state's going to do. So it's almost premature, or it is premature, to be announcing specifically where the cuts would be. I'm very concerned as a member of the Finance Committee, as well as a member of this committee. I don't want to be adding Wakefield School to the unemployment. I think we need to be very, very careful about how we open next year, to reevaluate the assignments. We can consider within the collective bargaining how we could, temporarily or long-term assign some duties. I think it's critically important for us as an employer in this way to do everything we can to keep our team members intact, while at the same time recognizing the world in which we're living. The town has a budget shortfall. They've recognized $400,000 of which needs to be cut in school spending. So sort of with that in mind and support to its recommendation, I think, Madam Chair, what we need to do, and I'd be prepared to offer a motion that the school committee amend the budget and present a new figure to the town manager for sharing with the finance committee and for going into town meeting with. So with that in mind, I would make a motion to revise the FY21 budget figure in support of the superintendent's recommendation to an FY21 budget of $43,576,659.
Second. Well, the motion has been presented in second. I guess we'd have to do a roll call vote.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes,
Mr. Callahan,
you're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Okay, the motion has been approved unanimously.
Thank you. So now, Doug, you can share that official new budget figure with the with Town Hall.
Thank you. Much appreciated. And thank you for the support and feedback from the Finance Subcommittee. And so moving ahead on our agenda, if that's okay to do, Amy?
Yes, it is.
Just a quick question. Tom, do our scouts, can they do they need to continue to join us? I know they're interested in the post IMA, but.
Dominic looks like he's falling asleep. So.
Always looks that way. No, no, the scouts are welcome to stay. They eat a topic. I shared tonight's agenda, a topic that they're following. I don't necessarily what that topic is. We live in a world of experiential learning, often in scouting. If the topic hasn't been discussed yet, you are free to sign off if you need to.
Did they all just really click off that fast?
No, there's still some of them there.
They're such a good group. They're so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved
They're
having
so good. And so thank you so much. So I would like to I'd like to invite our administrator for special education and student services, Lynn O'Neill, and our school business administrator, Christine Mufagna, if they can report a little bit on Post Academy and just an update on the intermunicipality agreement that we have to support the work that's happening at Post Academy with Reading.
So Christine, would you mind if I just gave an overview of Post first and then we can do the IMA? Okay. So for those of you, it's always nice to review sort of your work. And for some of you who have been on the school committee since, some of you since I came to Wakefield 7 years ago, or almost 8 years ago now, Post Academy was one of my first big projects. And it's something that still excites me as much today as it did in development. I think it took us about 1.5 years to sort of finalize the pieces, but it was an exciting time. So I just wanted to review a little bit about what it's all about. So Post Academy is an 18 to 22 program. We have a partner in Post Academy with Reading Public Schools. But in development, I offered it to many of the STEAM collaborative districts. Reading was the only one that fully partnered with us. We are so fortunate that Post Academy is at 5 Oak Street in the rear. It's a separate setting, which was something that was very important to the parent cohort that worked with me on this programming. And we have 2 teachers, one who focuses on the academic piece, one who focuses on the vocational piece. We have 3 job coaches. Currently, we have approximately 10 students. 2 of those students are tuitioned in from Stoneham. And then the rest at this point are Wakefield Public School students. We've used the programming in a variety of ways for our students who have
some cognitive challenges who would not be able to get a diploma at, in the sort of traditional timeline. Many of those students stay with us till age 22. We've also used the program for students who may need transitional skill building after they have, very closely come to meeting all the graduation requirements in and around or just after their senior year. So Monday through Thursday in the morning, there's lots of academic work that happens. In the afternoon, the students are at job sites or community experiences. And some of those places are TJ Maxx, Melrose Wakefield Hospital, the BB Library.
Lynn, I think you froze. Can you?
Through the job experience from Post or on their own, were able to secure paid employment, and then we would support them through the job coaching from Post Academy.
We can't seem to hear you, Lynn. Can you hear us?
Lynn, you're kind of cutting out.
Oh, I'm cutting out?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I had such a good speech. Oh, well, I don't know where I left off, but am I cutting out again?
Kind of.
Oh.
So maybe Christine can report on the IMA.
Sounds good.
I'll just chime in. There is one more year left on the IMA with Reading. And it just basically talks about how we would share the cost, and it's basically based on enrollment of students. So it talks about the number of Reading students versus the number of Wakefield students. And it also established thresholds so that it would never go between a 70-30 split, meaning 70 would be max and 30 would be the lowest for each community, because it's sharing all costs for all the educators, for the supplies, for the facility, etc. We do have one more year on that. We just want to talk about too, I don't know, Lynn, if you were going to talk about this, if we had any increased enrollment, any needs for one community, what that would mean for Wakefield if, Reading was increasing and Wakefield was not.
So we are working with Reading Public Schools about sort of a transition plan for them to utilize the programming specific to their needs. And we are actually actively doing that now. We do have a couple students aging out. One student actually just aged out in April. And then we have two others that are aging out at the beginning of the school year, next year. But we have 3 more coming in from the high school, so it sort of evens out from Wakefield Public Schools. Right. So, we have a robust student population for Wakefield, which is very exciting. And so Reading, we are working with them closely to tailor the program to what their student population needs are.
Does anyone have any questions?
Chris?
Is Reading's population going down and ours is going up?
So in complete transparency, Wakefield Public Schools has always, just since we've started the program, has always had more students than Reading.
So is it status quo, or is it changing?
Currently, this year, at this present time, there are no Reading students in the program. There are 3 Reading students who are coming into the age bracket, and we are meeting to talk with those families around, how could Post provide for their child's needs. So.
And what other towns are we letting in?
We currently, for the 2019-2020 school year, we had 2 Stoneham students that tuitioned in. One of those students just aged out in April, and we have another referral for another Stoneham student who would be starting sometime. Normally, if this was normal world, they would be starting in the summer, but it depends on what we're able to do, because the most of our programming, if we need to go virtual or take a remote, do remote planning, it works. But for a community-based program like Post Academy, our community-based places are closed and we can't access them. So the programming just looks vastly different virtually.
Are they closed off the jobs?
Well, TJ Maxx is closed. I mean, that's in like one of the phases to open. The hospital, there's nobody out, there's nobody that's allowed in. The schools are closed, and they do the Windrush Horse Farm, but in North Andover. But to get there, we have 2 minivans that are associated with the program, and the teachers or job coaches transport students, and we're not able to do that with COVID-19. So there's a lot of review materials, social stories, there's a lot of articles, there's a lot of sort of very rote tasks that are happening to try to remind them, preview of the skills needed for when we're able to get back out in the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Lynn or Christine? Seeing none, do you want to continue, Doug? You're muted. You need to unmute, Doug. We can't hear you. Thank you.
I know. Thanks for the high sign, Chris. And so the last piece, I just want to give an update in regard to summer services. So I think Kara and Lynn are going to join forces and just kind of give a very quick update in regard to things that we're thinking about in regard to summer opportunities.
Sure.
Right.
Do you want me to start, Lynn, or do you want to start? Either.
Why don't you go ahead and then I'll round it out.
Okay, sure. I can frame it out. So again, as with everything, things are different this summer, and I think with the timing of the closure when that happened, that would be typically around the time that we would begin planning out a summer program, as it's been running years past with live options. So we've met frequently to talk about what would be possible this summer, and I've gotten involved just in terms from the curriculum instruction piece with Estelle Burdick, who is our director of Wakefield Academy, and Lynn as well. And the 3 of us have really just tried to figure out what makes the most sense for this summer in particular. And what we've done is we've broken it out into 3 broad categories, with the Wakefield Academy, with my support and the support of the curriculum coordinators, trying to run academic enrichment programs for our students. We made a decision to go all virtual, just because we feel that, with the academy being something that parents typically opt into, they need to know what their children will be able to sign up for, and we need to be able to commit to it. So we felt like trying to even go in person with Wakefield Academy this year was just pretty unrealistic. So we made a decision to go all virtual academic enrichment. And I believe Estelle is still looking into, similar to what she's done through the closure, looking at some of the online options for the non-academic enrichment, like cooking and that sort of thing. So I think she's still looking to offer that as well. So what we've done so far in the process is we sent a survey out to K through 8 parents, just to see if there was even interest if we were to run something like this. And we did, Estelle has reported back, and I've looked at some of the survey data, that there is interest. We felt because it was virtual, we could go up to grade 8, which in the past, the Wakefield Academy, the Summer Warriors Camp has pretty much stayed in the lower grades, elementary, maybe lower middle school grades. So we felt like that was an opportunity for us to reach some of our older students too. But then that left us really thinking about our high school. And so typically in the past, the high school options haven't been, there hasn't been as much offer just because a lot of high school students tend to be doing either their own thing or they're doing credit recovery or signing up for other courses. So we're still going to offer the credit recovery option. However, we did find that at the high school and Galvin that we have less students who need that this summer. I think it might be because of how we closed out grading with really looking at the year, failing for the year. There were less students that we anticipate are going to be doing that, but we will still offer that for some. But what we did was I met with the curriculum coordinator group and Estelle and Brian Robertson, who has been heavily involved in the high school summer in the past. And we decided that what we would do is have our curriculum coordinators go back to their departments and talk to the teachers about what they think might be some meaningful enrichment opportunities that we could offer our high school students. So they're in the process of doing that. Last I checked, I think Brian sent out a report that he had about 3 different proposals so far. And there may be some more coming in.
And they look great. They look great.
Yeah, I think they do. And you know, but again, with Wakefield Academy, it's all interest-based. So what we need to do is put together proposals and then recruit staff first, so we know who we have who can actually teach virtually. And that's what we've done. We've gotten the postings up today. So we're hoping that we get, you know, but again, times are different right now in terms of what people can commit to. So once we figure out who we have for staff and what they can offer the students, then that would be a matter of putting those offerings out to families and registering them. So so it's still a work in progress. Like I said, we're in the process right now of, we know what our structure is and we know who we need to recruit, and we're still finalizing some proposals for our high school students, but definitely more to come in terms of finalizing small details. And then in terms of the blood piece, Lynn, I'll send it over to you.
Great. So special education, of course, is a little different, dare to be different. The state is giving us guidance that, you know, if we are able to have face-to-face or sort of human interaction, we should have a contingency plan to do so. So what I did was break the summer into 2 sessions. Session 1 from July 6th through July 23rd will be all virtual. July 27th through August 13th, and I did extend it by 1 week. Normally we have a 5-week program, but I extended it so that we could have even sessions by 1 week. And July 27th through August 13th will be, you know, could be
You froze again, Lynn.
Looks like you froze on us, Lynn. Do you have that information, Kara?
I think I know what she was going to say. So she's with, oh, Lynn, are you back? I don't want to take your thunder. You back?
Am I back?
Yes. Yeah, now you're back.
Oh my gosh. So it's going to, I don't know how much you heard. 2 sessions. First one's all virtual. Second one could be hybrid, some face-to-face, or if the guidance is that we have to remain virtual, that's what we do. Most of our programming is going to be running. Of course, the academic support program, you know, we usually have Monday through Thursday, 9 to 12. That's going to look different because you can't do 3 hours on a computer. So it will be a lot of experiential education, lots of, you know, check-ins, morning meetings, and then circling back to make sure that kids have been able to complete the assignments and the tasks that the teachers give. But the short, you know, sort of in the short, we're looking at, you know, for skilled, very creative, technically innovative staffing for this summer. And which is different than other summers. Most summer, no, we always look for those people. But what's different is I actually want to meet with all of the teachers prior to summer. Other years, I've left it up to the summer school director and the assistant director. So I've left it to Bev and to Brian to sort of interview and screen and hire. But I want to do that to make sure we're getting the right people in the right places. And, you know, this year for our ES5, it's going to be a little bit different because I really feel like there's going to be more students who need more services because of how we've ended up through the year. And we're prepared in a creative way to meet those needs.
So that's just a brief overview. We're happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions about summer programming.
Anybody have any questions for Kara or Lynn? Okay, thank you guys so much for your
Anticipate more to come as things get finalized. So
Yes,
thank
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank you very
information.
much.
Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank
So
you.
that's it for me, Amy.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, next on the agenda are budget items. Do we have any gifts?
We do have one gift tonight.
Okay, and do we have a motion?
We do. I'm going to do my first motion. Move that the school committee accept with gratitude the gift of $21,510 from the Silk Title Company. The funds will be used towards the outstanding school lunch balance. This is the third gift from the Silk Title Company.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, Doug?
I just want to share that this is from Mark Trattenberg and the Trattenberg family. And so he has been in very close contact with us. And he has been just remarkably generous and supportive. This latest donation is to take care of the outstanding balances that families have had so much difficulty paying for kind of lunches, the way that school has ended and with the needs of families. So he has graciously made a donation to pay all of the balances for all of our families in our school district. And so we just want to say thank you, and we're very grateful. I also want to let the committee know that Mark Trattenberg will be, I think, making one more donation, I think, in the coming weeks. So more information to follow.
Thank you, Doug. Yeah, that really is amazing news to hear. So gracious. Did we have a second?
I think somebody seconded it. I think we just have to do the roll call.
Okay, thank you. Yep. So the motion has been seconded, and roll call, Judy?
Yep. Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Ms. Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callanan,
You're muted.
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
and Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, passed unanimously. And moving on to the agenda, to the subcommittee reports. Chris Callanan, Finance and Facilities.
Well, as previously discussed, the Finance and Facilities is meeting at 8 o'clock every Thursday morning to discuss our current liabilities, where we might have any savings to carry over into next year, and how next year will look. There are some interesting things to consider. One thing that came up the other day was the possibility of having to spend as much as $180,000 next year on masks for students and staff. That was not in the budget. So we need to keep moving forward and knowing where funds may be reallocated and keep a close eye on where we're going.
Thank you. Labor and Personnel, Tom Markham.
Thank you. The 3-year contract has been in and out of the attorney's hands, of our attorney's hands, as well as the Unit A's attorneys. And we're very, very close to a point of being able to, send it around for signature. Just to really housekeeping matters with regard to that. So, stay tuned. Need to have a they've brought up a couple matters. One of particular concern they've about. So we need to have that conversation, with
Tom,
them.
I don't mean to interrupt, but you were breaking up. I didn't really catch what you were saying.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that. Maybe I should speak up. I don't know how this works or why it doesn't sometimes. So I'm not quite sure what you heard or didn't hear.
You froze again.
I'll just give a very quick summary of what I reported on, that the contract, the collective bargaining agreement, the 3-year for Unit A is being, it's in a very good place, being worked on housekeeping wise between our attorney and the union attorney. So that's in a very good place. That will be passed around electronically for committee members to sign, hopefully very soon, as we had all done a couple weeks ago for the 1-year contract. So we'll be reporting, continued progress there. The other thing is we're going to need to meet with some Unit A representatives in the near future. They have asked us to have some consideration for spring coaches with regard to the stipends and that work. So we're needing to be meeting with Unit A representatives soon, and we'll also be reporting back that information soon as well. So,
okay. Well, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much on that. And student services, for me, I have nothing to report. And policy and communications for Susie.
We have nothing to report. We've not met.
Okay, great, thank you. Future dates and agenda items. I guess our next virtual school committee meeting will be Tuesday, June 9th at 7:30. And I'm just wondering if maybe, I'm not sure if restrictions will be lifted, maybe we could actually get in studio one of these meetings, but as of right now, I guess we will be virtual. And any school committee comments, I can start with Chris. You're muted.
I didn't expect you to start with me. I'm sorry.
You're like first on my screen.
I just want to thank everybody for a wonderful year. I've enjoyed trying to lead this group and through some challenging times, and I appreciate all your cooperation and look forward to meeting with you for the next 3 years.
Thank you, Chris. Tom Markham.
Thank you. We've had a robust meeting, so I'm not going to reiterate many things that we discussed, but I just want to say thank you to Chris Callanan for being chair this year. Thank you, Amy, for being vice chair. I think you had a very productive year, and I thank you for both of the leadership that you're able to provide, and wish Amy and Susie nothing but the best in representing this committee in the year ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Tom Flynn.
Yes, I just wanted to thank all of the parents and students and concerned citizens who reached out about graduation. Thank you also to Lily and Adriana for their impassioned conversations tonight. And especially thank you to the Boy Scouts, especially Dave, who's still sticking in there with us. It's very commendable. And good luck to Amy and Susie for the rest of the year.
Thank you, Tom. Colleen.
Sorry. Oh, I'm in mute. I just would like to start by saying thank you to Chris for leading us in a most organized and just always prepared way. It's always nice to know what to expect and to be ready to take on the task of, the agenda of our committee and be prepared. And I appreciate you for leading us in that way, and happy that you're still here with us. And the best to Susie and Amy. I have great confidence in both of you, especially Amy, as this is a new and large role. And I'm excited to move forward with both of you leading us. And yeah, I just wanted to say also, of course, a thank you to the parents and the students and really all of our community members for the specific challenge of how we honor our students and our staff and our teachers and everyone at the end of the year. I think that patience and trust is really like what's at hand. And I think that our administration and all of the players are absolutely taking into account everyone's feelings and with safety at the forefront. And it's important to listen to everyone's concerns, but it's important that we remain safe and that the students' interests are first. I think that's, you know, with listening to Lily and Adriana tonight, and them even saying, well, we know some parents who would say, you know, it's important to hear that, right? Because it's about their experience and them moving on. And I'm just really proud of our community for taking it all in and then and making and even still listening to their opinions and then moving forward and with more discussion. So I appreciate all your efforts and wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Colleen. Anne.
It's hard to follow Colleen. She said everything so beautifully. So want to just echo everything she said and all the best to you, Amy, and to you, Susie, in this next year.
Thank you, Anne. And Susie.
So I'll just say, Amy, you and I have a feat to try to beat Chris's shortest meeting and keep up with his efficient agendas and kind of keeping us going. So I think I'm up to the challenge. I think you are too. So we'll see if we can beat Chris's shortest meeting.
Well, tonight didn't prove that.
No, it did not. But Chris, thank you for the leadership over the last year. It's been a big job with a lot of contentious things to manage, and it hasn't been an easy year, that's for sure. And so thanks for the leadership. And I'm looking forward to learning the ropes with Amy this year. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Susie. Doug.
So just to Chris, I don't think people realize that, when you're chair of the school committee, the title sounds kind of fancy, but it's like an accelerated graduate program in leadership. It's different than any other position on the board. It kind of triples the time commitment potentially. And the kind of the level of complexity and things that you're working with in regard to just supporting teaching and learning is just really critical. And so I think it's really difficult work. I think you've done it with Chris with a level of kind of grace. And I think you've been, a great support to us at central office. And, we have a relatively young leadership group. Kara's in year 2. I'm in year 2 of my superintendency. Christine's here as a first year school business administrator. And so, I think that you have been really kind of a great resource for us. So thank you. And I feel like Amy has just picked up and started working double time already. And so I'm looking forward to working with you, Amy, and the rest of the committee. So thank you. I also didn't want to miss an opportunity just to say thank you to parents for the feedback, and a special thanks to Lily and Adriana for their service to the school committee over this past year. I really feel like they're just such terrific kids and representations of the Wakefield Public Schools. I'm just so proud of them. And how they also thoughtfully represented the views of parents and their fellow students this evening. So that's just it for me. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Doug. And I would also like to thank Chris for teaching me the ropes, and I appreciate your guidance this year. I've been watching you very closely, and I will do my best to make sure that I follow this agenda in meetings to come. And of course, I can't say that I'll do it perfectly, but I do hope that you provide some constructive criticism if you have any. I will take it. And I also just want to congratulate Susie. I look forward to working with you as well. And thank you all for your vote of confidence in me. And, of course, I would want to thank the members of the public for emailing in and, acknowledging that they have issues and concerns about the graduation. So I have faith in the administration that we will hopefully move forward and continue to make sure that the summer in June work out. So with that said, I guess we do have an adjournment for motion.
Okay. Move that the school committee adjourn its meeting of May 26th, 2020.
Second.
Motion seconded and roll call.
Mr. Markham,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Ms. Bayer,
Yes.
Purcell,
Yes.
Mr. Callahan,
Yes.
Ms. Guida,
Yes.
Mr. Flynn.
Yes.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. And I guess we will see everybody back here on Tuesday, June 9th. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Be safe.
No